Welcome to my Pagan Pathworks. My name is Lisa. If you're new to the channel, I am so glad that you're here, and I invite you to like and subscribe. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back to the channel, and I'm glad you're here as well. And I thank you all so much for joining me today. In today's Tarot Tuesday, we're going to talk about the Nine of Swords. Alrighty, so thank you for staying with me. Let's do a bit of review before we move on. So the swords as a whole are associated with the signs of Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, and they are linked to the element of air. In general, the swords are about our ability to communicate and our intellect, but they also represent human conflict, either with ourselves or with people outside of ourselves. They can represent the internal conflicts that we feel or external conflicts. And like the major arcana, in my opinion, they have a progression through the cards, or from the ace to the 10, and then the court cards kind of have their own thing going on. But for me, with the swords, the ace begins with pure logic. In the twos introduce logic and emotions and how the two interact. The threes see the marriage between logic and emotions and the conflict that can bring. With the fours, we see a resting period where we are ruled not by either. We're just resting. With the fives, we see how our personal growth as humans and how our intellectual growth can help us know when to cut our losses and run, or when an idea is worth staying for. With the sixes, we see a place of balance and peace between our emotions and our intellect. After the sixes, we're talking about a journey into the dark night of the soul. With the sevens, we see deception and moral corruption. The eights brought us to a place where we are held captive by our own mind. And so, to me, this progression through the cards can give the cards a little bit higher meaning and help us in determining the meaning of the cards in the spread as a whole. So it's kind of like the higher ideas behind the card. And so, with that, we are ready to talk about the nines. And so the first thing I'm going to do is give you my examples of the nines. Now this is the Hanson Roberts deck. This is the Rider-Waite. This is the Secrets of the Tarot. This is the Celtic Tarot. And this is the Tarot Draconis. Now, as you can see, with the exception of the Tarot Draconis, the cards all show someone having trouble sleeping, and with the swords hanging over their heads. And this lends a lot to the literal interpretation of the cards. But first, we're going to talk about some associations. And so, the nines are associated with the Hermit card and the Moon in the major arcanas. And for me, I believe the association is closer to the Moon instead of the Hermit. The Hermit would be more the reversed side of this card than it would be the upright to me, and vice versa, the Moon being the upright. And so the key words for these cards are solitary wisdom and secrecy. And, and so you can see how that would lend a little bit of meaning to these cards to remember those associations. In the Kabbalah, the nines are associated with the Yesod Sifroth. It means foundation, and it's the purifier of emanations, and it's the connector between the energy of the upper Sephiroth with the energy of the lower Sephiroth. So, in this respect, there is a connection in the Nine of Swords between the mind and the body. So that Kabbalah meaning could easily be transferred to the Nine of Swords. In numerology, the nines are associated with completion, joy, success, and catharsis as we move toward rebirth. So, in respect to the Nine of Swords, I think this is the antithesis of these ideas. It's the opposite. It's what happens when we lack completion or catharsis. To me, that's what the Nine of Swords is about. So, this brings us to the literal meaning of the Nine of Swords. And so, this card is about how much control our mind has over our body. It's the result of overthinking. And having too much on our minds. It holds us captive, and it keeps us from sleeping when we have something on our mind that heavily. It represents our fears and our anxieties and the issues that come with those things. We are guilty. When we see this card in a spread, we are very much guilty of overanalyzing things sometimes. In overanalyzing it to the point where it really cripples us and causes us too much stress, and we just aren't able to cope. Sometimes it's the result of our relationships that cause us this anxiety, and sometimes it's just the result of our own mind making a mountain out of a molehill when it's not really that serious. So I can tell you from personal experience that I have experienced this card recently, so I know when something can cause you a great deal of anxiety, and in the end, your mind made it a lot worse than what it really is. So keep that in mind when you're interpreting this card for yourself, as it could be a really bad situation, or it could be just your mind making too much out of the situation and you need to take a step back. So the best course of action when you get this card in the upright is go find a friend that you could trust to be a sounding board. Sometimes having another person listen to what's going on, they can help you get a different perspective on what is going on. So that would be the first suggestion, is to go find a friend and get a different perspective. Because action is always the antidote to worry. So if you're that worried about something, the best course of action is to make a plan. Find a way out of your situation. Make a plan, and then carry through with that plan. Put yourself in action, and sometimes that will help ease our worries. But make sure you take some time to clear your head first and get an opinion from someone else, so you don't make a mountain out of a molehill. So in the reverse, this card is pretty much it's the opposite. We have not been listening to our intuition enough, and we have not been taking a situation seriously enough. So we have been taking a too lighthearted approach to a situation. So when we get this card in the reverse, the best course of action is to start listening to your intuition, because it's trying to tell you something. And whatever it's trying to tell you, those thoughts, those that warning is well grounded and you should pay attention. There's something hidden about a particular situation, so you don't have all the information, but your intuition does. So listen to your intuition and give serious thoughts about any decisions that you make right now, and view it from all the angles before you take action. This is not the time to play it by ear. It's not time to play it by the seat of your pants. You need a well-rounded plan in order to be successful, and you need to listen to your intuition above all things. So that about sums it up for the Nine of Swords. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I hope that you'll join me next Tuesday for another Tarot Tuesday, and we'll talk about the Ten of Swords next week, and it is the end game in the progression between the 1 and the 10. Because like I said, the court cards have their own thing going on, so I hope you'll join me next week. And as always, I invite you to like and subscribe to the channel, and thank you so very much for your time and attention.